Hey guys, I just wanted to give you an update on the Audi S4 that I've been playing around with the exhaust, and yeah, it's been a long journey, to be honest. Been through a lot of iterations of the exhaust, and yeah, I'm just here to give you guys a bit of an update on what happened. What was the eventual outcome of all these modifications I was doing. Just to try and get the perfect sound for the car. That V6 is a really good motor. It's an awesome sounding engine when you get it right. And unfortunately, I experienced a lot of issues, which I'll speak to you about in this video. And yeah, since then I've actually sold the car. But I'll tell you which one I'm onto now, which other vehicle I have now. But yeah, stay tuned for this series of videos. It's probably not going to be one video. I'll probably make a few. Yeah, stay tuned. Alright, so I think the last place that we left off was the Xpipe. I changed the Xpipe, done a few mods there, yeah, so Xpipe with silencers, because what happened was the Xpipe replaced the little resonators that are sort of in the front, and it also yeah, just replaced that, and then it goes to the center box. So what happened was the car, as you can hear in a lot of the other videos that I have, that the car was quite raspy and sometimes didn't really sound that great. So what I decided to do is put two sort of small silencers in, just the small round silencers, and that made it sound a lot better. And for the most part, I was quite happy with that. Anyway, so fast forward a bit, that was okay. And then I went to the local racetrack and I did some drag races and just trying to challenge some of my friends. And I went up against an Audi B8 3-litre TDI, also with straight pipes all the way through, tuned and all that type of thing, and a few other mods. And it was very, very close. I must admit, he was pushing a lot of torque on that car. I think around 850 Newton meters, and kilowatts was quite high. So anyway, after a few runs on the track there, I realized, or sort of hear the funny sound coming from the from one of the, I think it was the right bank exhaust. So the sound started to sound a bit odd. So I went to sort of investigate it. Actually, before I started investigating it, there was sort of a white, I'll see if I can find a photo for you that I took. It was sort of a white ashy sort of ash coming out of the one side of the exhaust. And it was driving me nuts because I really didn't know what it was. I assumed it was like maybe like antifreeze that was burning into the engine, which was causing that white. And apparently that is something that can happen. So I was quite worried. But then, eventually I just got fed up and I just started driving very hard and took it on a bit of a mountain pass. And then suddenly it was clean. There was no more of this residue. But it still sounded a bit different. The one exhaust note sounded different to the other side. So eventually, after a lot of investigation, I found that it was the catalytic converter, the big cat that sits just out of the exhaust manifold. That catalytic converter had burned completely out. So all of that white residue was literally the honeycomb structure inside that was completely burnt out and went right through the exhaust system. so that was almost like a decat on the one bank, and I was quite concerned that now that the one bank was running with a catalytic converter, the other one was running without one, I wasn't sure what the implications would be for the computer on the engine for fueling and that type of thing. So I took it to an exhaust shop, and they said that they can remove it without removing the engine, which a lot of the other exhaust shops said they couldn't do. They'd have to remove the engine to get to the cats. These guys said they'll be able to work in the little gap between the sidewall and the gearbox, and they'll be able to get to the right bank and the left bank of the engine from underneath. So they managed to cut that out, and then I just said, you know what, let's just do a full exhaust right through. So I didn't want to go straight through because the engine's very loud. So what I just did sort of straight down pipes from the engine banks, so no cats at all, straight down, and then into the Xpipe, and then a silencer box where the mid box would be, just sort of an oval silencer box, and right at the back I put two long silencers, or I think they were more like two oval silencers. And you know, on first start it really sounded good. I was quite impressed. Revving it, it was good, and I was quite happy. But then on the way home, I was driving, and between 2,000 or 1,900 RPM, I think it was, and 2,500 RPM, there was a massive drone. Now, when I speak to people about drone, they don't really know what I mean. It's basically like a low tone sound that is so low that it vibrates your mirror, and it vibrates your core. Yeah, you can actually feel it, and it goes right through the whole car. The whole car becomes like this vibrational frequency, and it just goes, and it's just terrible. It's terrible. You just cannot live with it. But as soon as it goes over, I think it was 2,500 RPM, then and all the way till 7,000, it sounded absolutely manic, mad.
Come on. It's so much bigger in front of us though.
was really good. But you know, if you're doing normal driving, urban driving, even on the highway in automatic and top gear, you know, the RPM sits exactly right in that drone zone. You know, if you're doing 120 kilometers an hour, it's just droning the whole time. Terrible. So anyway, we went back to the exhaust shop and we tried to put different silencers, and I'll show you a whole lot of pictures here that you can see. But we just try to put different combinations, different boxes, different configurations with inside of the silencer, maybe like a Y piece, that type of thing. So what we did on the back boxes, we changed those completely. And we put in, I think it was one, so it goes one sort of one baffle inside, and then it's split into two baffles at the back. So what it's supposed to do is disperse more of the sound waves and that type of thing. And all it did is just change the tone of the exhaust in terms of its how low it would be, but the drone was consistently there. So that didn't work, and yeah, tried many different iterations at that same exhaust shop. Went through his whole catalog of exhaust parts, and you know, we just didn't get it right. So I gave up that one, and then I went to a different exhaust shop who does custom stainless steel, who was reportedly quite good, and he guaranteed that he would do the whole exhaust and there'd be no drone. It'd be amazing. Long story short, that didn't work out. Had constant drone and many iterations, and what I was going to originally get was a nice, beautifully manufactured stainless steel, custom stainless steel exhaust, and what I ended up getting was a chopped up, hacked exhaust system that just looked terrible. And I was paying good money for this thing, and I wasn't really happy about that either. So I decided to give that up, and you know, because it went on for months, you know, with this guy, where he eventually started to respond slower to me, and he just never, his name, you know, his shop was called Rabbit Auto Customs, and they're just really bad, and I would never advise anyone to go near them. You know, once he had taken my money, and he just started to respond slowly, and it took months and months. I was driving around with this car with drone, and he was saying, oh, he's trying to get this part and that part, and it never happened. So eventually I just you know, I just told him whatever, and so I was at the end, you know, and I did a lot of research online. I tried to look at resonant frequencies and how it all calculates, and you know, it's you need to be an engineer or a scientist or something to figure that stuff out, you know.
I wanted to quickly show you the Remus catback exhaust system. Here we have the center box and piping, and then over here we have the back boxes. Now this system is great, but it's not specifically made to remove the drone. It doesn't say that on the website.
Yeah. So what they call it is a catback. So it's actually just a bolt-on. So if you leave the stock catalytic converters that come out of the headers, and the stock downpipes and the stock resonator on the Audi, then you'll literally take off from the center box and replace the center box to the two back boxes. That whole setup is just a bolt-on. So yeah, put it on, beautiful system, but unfortunately still that drone. Yeah, that was quite disappointing. You know, and we've tried many different things. We even tried to, where the normal resonators were, in the front, the small little resonators that come from the downpipe, the small resonators. We put two sort of cylindrical silencers there to see if that would make a difference. It made the car quieter, but it still didn't take away the drones. So I was really at a loss for words, and I'd exhausted all of my resources and know-how in terms of how exhaust systems are manufactured. Obviously there's a lot of technology that goes into these exhaust systems, especially in Europe, where they manage to tune out these frequencies through resonator tubes and all these different things. Oh yes, the other thing we tried to do was put on these Helmholtz resonators. So a Helmholtz resonator is basically a piece of pipe that is, let's say you cut a hole in the exhaust. So let's say you've got one exhaust pipe. So what you do is you cut a hole in the side of it, and then you take a sort of a right angle, not too right angle, but an angle out, and then you bring the tube along the side of the actual main exhaust. And that can be, there's different measurements and different calculations you need to use to calculate the diameter of that pipe. I think we used something that was about a 50 mil or something like that. And then basically the pipe comes out and it just has a certain length, and that certain length is based on the frequency that you want to tune out. So if your drone resonance, the frequency is whatever 125, I think mine was around 125 hertz. That's what I could record from my phone in my car. It has like an app that I got. I don't know how accurate it was, but that was the frequency that I was getting. It was 110, 125 hertz. So it's quite low. If you can imagine, a speaker goes from like 50 or 20 or 50 hertz, like a subwoofer goes from 20 or 50 hertz, and then it goes up to 250 hertz. So 125 was a really low bass tone, or the drone that I was experiencing. So 125, and then I measured through some calculations, which I don't even know if they were actually correct. Maybe they weren't, perhaps they weren't. And we tuned this pipe to be, I don't know, it was about 50 centimeters or something like that. Yeah, so that didn't work. That Frankenstein exhaust mod didn't work. So after all of that, I'd probably spent a lot of money and a lot of time, probably about 8 months or maybe longer, trying to sort out this exhaust system. I eventually thought that the only way to go is to go back to stock. So unfortunately I'd already gotten rid of the original stock that I had on the car, so I had to find and source a new one, or a different one of another car. So I managed to find a guy in Durban, and he packaged it up and shipped it down to me, and I got it at quite a fairly low price. So and it was a perfect center box, or the middle box, and then even the resonators on the front, I think the small resonators, the middle box, and the silencers, the big boxes at the back. Put those back on, and amazing. The sound was brilliant. The sound was almost stock, no drone, but it sounded a little bit better. And the reason is because I still had the downpipes that come out of the headers. I still had those downpipes, and it went into the high performance cats, into the Xpipe, and then from the Xpipe it went into the stock system. So that actually produced quite a good sound. But basically that was the final result, and I was quite happy with that. It was a good sounding system at that. So eventually, and to conclude this video, what I would suggest, the ultimate system that I would suggest, if you don't have the money to buy a system from one of the European manufacturers like AWE or one of those guys that have the tuned systems, if you don't have the funds to do that whole thing, what I suggest you guys do is just do downpipes. So remove the stock cats, do downpipes into an Xbox, and then leave the center box and the back boxes on. That's it. Don't remove the center box, and the back boxes have these chambers inside, these tuned chambers, so they actually cancel out those resonant frequencies before they actually come out of the back of the exhaust pipe. So that's you know, German engineering, and they obviously perfected that from the factory. So unless you're going to be able to do that, and you're a mathematician, I don't think, or a sound engineer, I don't think you're going to be able to build boxes that you know, or get local manufacturers to build exhaust systems like that. And if you do, it's going to be expensive again, so I wouldn't suggest it. So again, just down pipes, Xpipe, and then leave the center box and the back boxes, and you should have a much better sounding Audi S4 B8. And I think this will work for the S4 B8.5 too. It's basically the same setup. So that's it, guys. That is the update. Yeah, and I did eventually sell the car. I don't keep cars that long. I like different cars, and every time I look for different things in cars. So for me, I want a little bit more driving dynamics, and I used to own BMWs in the past, so I went back to a BMW. So now I drive a 2013 BMW F30 330D. So I went diesel, and I can tell you now that that I was very impressed with the car. It's sure, it doesn't have the screaming sound, it doesn't have the rev range, but it has a lot of torque, and it has quite a responsive engine for a diesel engine. And you know, if you care about fuel economy is fantastic as well. If you go on these runs with the guys, you know, you'll be sitting, doesn't matter how hard you drive the car, you'll be sitting at, you know, very low fuel consumption compared to what I was getting on the Audi. And driving dynamics, rear wheel drive, very balanced car. And you know, I've got the one with all the bits and pieces on the Motorsport edition. So it's got the bigger brakes, the Brembo brakes from BMW, and you know, narrow in the front and wide at the back tires, so and the body kit and everything. So it's a really fantastic car. And I'm going to be doing some other videos. I also do a tuning tool, which I managed to tune my BMW with my own files, and I'm going to show you what the results are of that. So if you're interested in that, have a look and keep following on this channel. But yes, I don't have an Audi anymore, so this will be the last video of the Audi. Perhaps I'll do a video of what is the comparison between the Audi S4 B8 and the BMW F30 330D. How do they differ in terms of, if you're looking for something that is like a sports car or a sports sedan, how do they differ? What are the fundamental differences? So I'll probably do a video about that. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you guys, and yeah, leave some comments. I'm really checking my channels again these days, so I'll try and respond to all of your comments and questions, and yeah, have a good one. Till next time. Cheers.